see that? You can't see that.
It's tucked in.
Across, okay.
Bit of a weird top.
Okay. Okay, give us a clap.
Okay.
David, give us a clap. Okay, we're all clapped. Okay, we're all recording. Yeah.
Okay. Hi and welcome back to By the Furnace. Today I'm joined by David Arratoon, a design director at Collier Webb. Thank you for joining, David.
Thank you for inviting me.
I think it would be nice to start by just taking us through your story and how you got into design, because you've got such a lovely story there.
From a young age, I've always been creative. I was always, spend hours making things, and then as soon as I made them, I sort of disregarded them and was on to my next idea. I think I think I enjoyed the creative process. So I was doing that, and then went to art college and university and studied furniture and product design. And I was quite lucky to get quite a lot of experience whilst I was studying, sort of real world industry experience whilst I was studying and after my studies as well. I quite quickly realised that I was really intrigued by the making process.
Yeah.
For me, I felt like to be able to design well, I wanted to understand the materials, the processes and so on. So I was kind of looked for jobs where I could see that process happening.
Yeah.
Which ultimately led me here to Collier Webb.
And where did that creative spark come from at such a young age? Didn't your granddad start in...
Yeah, my dad was a designer and an artist. He studied 3D design, and he kind of, there's a few pieces of furniture in my parents' house which he had made.
Yeah.
But his dad also had a furniture factory and a shop. And so I guess, I was kind of surrounded by people who were doing it or had done it, and pieces of furniture that had been made in the family kind of thing. So it's something that's been handed down, I think, through the generations. So
we have a similar story.
We do, yeah.
So, and obviously now you're leading new product development at Collier Webb. Where do you get your inspiration from?
Always sounds like a bit of a cliche to say the natural world, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think there's, the beauty in nature translates into beautiful design. Yeah. I'd say I'm also inspired by architecture. Yeah, any of the other arts really, kind of other creatives. So it's interesting to see what other people are doing and creating. Yeah. Also, of course, the process and the craft, celebrating the process of the making and the creation of the object. Yeah. It's quite important to me, and sort of highlighting the materials as well. So
it's the story of the craft behind the design.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of designing with those things in mind. Yeah. Rather than designing something that looks nice and then trying to think about how to make it, and those things being secondary.
Okay, and are there any specific sort of creatives that you're inspired by?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Collier Webb, definitely our collection is quite heavily inspired by design from sort of the mid-19th century. The work that Jacques Adnet did, or Jean-Michel Frank, Jean Royer, they're created these beautiful pieces which they're quite timeless in their design. Yeah, I think they do kind of like highlight the materials, and they're quite simple forms. Yeah. And that's definitely sort of something that we try to do when we're designing new pieces here.
And we've spoken about the design of the products, and what's the process behind the scenes? We've spoken recently about how it's so different creating a new product for our collection as to creating a bespoke one-off item.
Yeah, with bespoke, we are usually creating something that nobody's ever made before, and potentially no one will ever make it again. It's quite it's definitely an individual piece for that particular client. With bespoke as well, usually we kind of we put a lot of work into the design and the engineering of it, and
Yeah.
we make it more often than not without any prototype. We might do some sampling along the way, or certain details we might make, but usually we're making it for the first time, and that is the first and final time. Whereas with our own stuff, we'll try and do sort of more prototyping, so we're kind of testing it
Yeah.
through production,
Yes,
really.
yeah.
And then we might do some tweaks just to make sure that we're getting efficiencies in the production, and we're making a product which is not only a beautiful thing, but is also a profitable thing.
Yeah, yeah. And when I guess a lot of your ideas also can come from our bespoke work. You sort of, I guess you can see the trends that are coming, what materials people are asking for, which is a really good insight. Are there particular products from our standard collection that you find are more often customised?
Just on your first point, I mean, definitely, that's definitely a good point, is that we're very fortunate that we've got some of the best interior designers in the world coming to us to work together on their bespoke projects.
Yeah.
So we get a really good idea of trends within the industry and what our clients want, essentially. So that is definitely sort of a feed into our NPD or new product design.
Yeah.
In terms of customization, we're quite fortunate that we hand make everything to order. So if anybody wants anything customized, we're usually able to do that. Be it sort of a dimensional change or a change to the finish or something like that. What most commonly is customized, probably furniture.
Yeah, the salon. I was just
Salon Etagere would be one of our most popular products, but I think actually we probably do more customized versions than we do
standard
size.
Yeah.
Furniture is something that I think you want it to fit the interior.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to play with those dimensions and proportions and so on to make it work for that particular environment.
And the latest collection, Cedric collection, that's recently launched. Can you talk to us a bit about the story behind it and where the inspiration came from?
Yeah, bit of a slightly unusual one actually, because don't know what I was doing, rummaging around in some of the storerooms, obviously trying to find something, and I stumbled upon an old floor light, a reading light. And I thought, yes, that's quite a nice thing. So I went to your dad and I said, what is that old lamp in the cupboard? And he explained that it was something that Cedric, your grandfather, had made. So essentially it was like one of the first Collier Webb products. So that sort of gave the idea of perhaps we could do something with that. And just talking to you and Jeff about Cedric, I soon learnt that his kind of route into his creations was through wood turning. So as you know, he was wood turning was it the garden shed?
It was in the garden shed.
So he was making these beautiful things out of wood and then started to experiment in sand casting.
Yeah.
So he was using the thing that he had made from wood as the pattern for the mold, for the sand casting process.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said earlier about where do you get your inspiration from and it being craft, this collection must have given you such a great story.
It's a really good story, yeah.
Yeah.
So what we've done, there's 4 pieces in the collection, and we've sort of celebrated that story of the different processes, basically, kind of starting with wood turning.
Yeah.
So they've all got solid turned walnut details on them. And then we've also done sand casting. So basically when you sand cast something, when it comes out of the sand, it has a really nice, beautiful texture on it, which is created by the sand.
Yeah.
Usually we'll clean that off to a smooth finish. So in this collection, we've decided to keep it basically to sort of highlight and celebrate that particular process.
Yeah.
So we've done that, and then the other parts on it are, some of them are machined, for example, which is obviously a more contemporary process. So it sort of tells the progression of Collier Webb's manufacturing within these products.
Yeah.
And the floor light in the product is very heavily inspired by the one that your
He'd
granddad made.
Yeah, you've done a really good job at mixing those two kind of techniques. You just said about the machined parts and sand casting, and they all work really well together.
Yeah.
Sort of traditional and
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of a lot of what we do at Collier Webb.
Yeah,
We're quite
yeah.
lucky in that we don't just have the casting, we've got other ways of making things as well.
Yeah.
So we're kind of able to choose what is the most appropriate for the particular design that we're trying to create.
Yeah.
And make them work together as well.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so reflecting on your journey in the industry, if you could go back to your younger self, is there a bit of advice that you would give?
I would say get as much sort of experience as you can. Any experience within the industry is, just really, really valuable. I'd say learn from your mistakes. We all make mistakes, and from those mistakes you learn and you grow and you improve. So, don't make mistakes, but don't be too scared of making them as well. And finally, probably just stay curious, stay creative, stay open to learning, because I think design is always evolving. It's never standing still. There's always something new and interesting happening. So there's always new things to learn.
Great.
That's what I'd say to myself.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
It's been great.